This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
We got Aaron Torres. Aaron, what's up, buddy? How's it going?
It's all good. The teachers out today. You guys having fun? Listen, the big boss is out. You guys were letting loose a little bit, having fun?
We got Pulp Fiction on in the background. We got pizza coming in the studio. We're just trying to keep it in between the mayonnaise and the mustard.
Spitballs. There's spitballs everywhere across the board.
Yeah.
Everyone's just spitting spitballs, having a good time. Okay, all right. I respect it. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing...
The only thing we don't have is a keg, and if you've got one, Aaron, send it on down.
Wait till 2, though. Yeah.
A keg? Oh, yeah, that can be arranged. That's not a problem at all. Friday's my day off, so I get started early anyway, so it's no problem at all. I'll meet you right at 2 o'clock.
Some solo cups will be good.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
I love some radio, and I love seeing how every day is a different day, like International Kangaroo Day, or in today's National Pizza Day. And we were talking a little bit about pizza, local pizza, best pizza. Where do you get your pie from? What's the best pizza you've had?
Well, I'm on the West Coast now, but I grew up in Connecticut, and so, Connecticut, some say, is the home to the best pizza in the world, which is Frank Pepe's down in New Haven. So I am more of a New York thin crust guy. But let me ask you guys a controversial question, because this is a thing. I don't understand the argument. Like, this is my hottest, I'll go to war, forget sports arguments. I am more passionate about this than anything sports-related. Anyone who tries to claim that Chicago deep dish isn't a pizza is an idiot. I'm just saying it. I'm sorry. I don't know if I just offended you guys, but there's this big thing on the internet. Oh, it's not pizza. It's a pie. It's a this. It's a that. No. It has cheese. It has crust. It has sauce. By definition, it's a pizza. It's a little bit different than New York. It's a little bit different than Detroit style. It's a little bit different than whatever other style you're used to. But when people try to tell me that deep dish is not pizza, I don't know why. I get really, really mad about it, and that's my big pizza hot take for the day.
There's this, who Doug Doug Gottlieb is, and he said, and so I'm like you, Aaron, because I believe that Chicago style is pizza. But he said, I can't argue with you I can't argue about basketball with you if you can't make a left-handed layup. So when you say something, like this, like I just can't even argue with you, So I totally get it.
Doug's a good friend of mine. He's funny as hell too. But that's my big piece. Yeah, exactly. I'm far from a foodie, but if you're trying to tell me that a piece of bread that turns into crust after a few minutes in the oven with cheese and sauce is not pizza, then as Doug said, I can't argue with you about anything else.
Aaron, I've been to Chicago, and I've been at the elite places, the gourmet deep dish places, and it's all good. But I kind of rail against it when you go, say, to a place in Fayetteville that advertises deep dish, and they said Chicago, and it's not that. It is not that. It is. You just don't want it. That's fair. And I think if it's the real thing, yeah, baby, it's pizza. But there are imitations.
I don't disagree with. I've had very poor, mediocre deep dish. But yeah, the ones in Chicago.
And they think they got it. They think they did it. They didn't.
No, I'm with you. That's totally fair, Clay. That's totally fair. But yeah, the stuff in Chicago, it's the real deal.
Yeah, it is.
For those of us who've been lucky enough to have some, straight out of those ovens in Chicago, there's nothing better.
Aaron, with the NBA Combine going on, and I saw is Brandon Miller still going to be the first college player taken? Is Wemby a guy is he still 4 years? I mean, a lot of these kids are still 3-4 years away, but how's the Combine going for some of these Arkansas kids, and is Brandon Miller going to be the first college guy taken?
Well, by all accounts, Jordan Walsh is kind of doing exactly what everybody expected him to do, which is, listen, there's a reason he was a McDonald's All-American, top 15 recruit, whatever. He's super athletic. The skill set will get there at some point. As you said, Matt, they're all young guys, but Jordan Walsh, 1 year removed from high school, is a very young guy. So I have no intel as to if he's done enough to stay in or if his opinion has changed. But my guess is that, even going in, was that he was going to show enough to convince people to draft him in a spot where he'd be comfortable staying. So my hunch is that, yes, Jordan Walsh has done enough. Devo Davis, I know, I don't even think he was in Chicago or he wasn't for the Combine, so I don't know how that impacts his decision if he would come back, all that. And then lastly, your question about Brandon Miller, it's interesting. I've seen mixed reports. Adrian Wojnarowski said something about, there's no concerns over the situation that he found himself in a few months back in Tuscaloosa. But then I saw Jonathan Givony, who also works at ESPN, who's Woj's colleague, say that NBA teams are concerned with Brandon Miller, the shape that he's in and some of the answers that he's given. So I still think he's the first college player taken. I still think he could go as high as number 2 overall. And this is the draft process, even though I know it's not as intense or as scrutinized as the NFL process. There's just leaks upon leaks, and sometimes it's not even false information, but how one team feels about a player could be completely different than how another one does. And so I just bring it up to say that I know there's been some mixed stuff about Brandon Miller over these last couple of days, but I still believe that on draft night there in mid to late June, whenever it is, that's going to be the number 1 player from the college level off the board.
There's so much positioning, and I've had it explained by agents that some of the misinformation that comes out is to help them in negotiation. Like, we're going to draft this guy. He didn't know it yet. But we'd like to get our number locked down in what we're going to do with him. But we like to beat him up a little bit first. So it's like, whoa. Do you see some of that, or you think that's kind of maybe not as serious as it would sound?
No, Clay, I think it's certainly the case. By the way, it's kind of interesting and ironic that the Spurs, at least at number 1, are not doing any of that. It was funny. I did a big, reaction interview, and we spent a lot of time talking about Wemby, with the Spurs. And I kind of joked with the host the other day. I said, "We're positive he's going to the Spurs, right?" But I give the Spurs credit. They're a well-run organization. There's no song and dance. They're not pretending that they're going anywhere else at number 1. But I think in general, Clay, I think it's absolutely what happens. And it's even what happens even when you know who you're going to take. I mean, let's go back to the NFL draft just 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, whatever it was, where, Carolina trades up to the number 1 pick. And my sentiment all along was, you don't trade up to number 1. You don't give up a bunch of assets if you don't know who you want. Yet a day after the trade, they don't know who they want. And then a day after that, it's, we like C.J. Stroud. And then a day before the draft, it's, oh, my goodness, Will Levis is really making moves. And in the end, it ended up being Bryce Young all along. So I get it from the team's perspective. I get it from even the teams that are picking number 1. You never want to put yourself in a position where somebody is very interested in a player, so they're not even willing to make a trade because they already know who you're going to take. And then from that point on, after number 1, I also understand why other teams do it as well, to create either misinformation so they can get the guy that they want, or to create leverage for their picks. I get it. To your point, Clay, it kind of stinks because these are real humans that are kind of being dragged through.
No doubt.
Yeah, like we saw, we can argue whether Will Levis is going to be a good quarterback or whether he deserved to go in the top 10 or whatever. There is a human emotion where clearly he would not have been in Kansas City a few weeks ago if he did not think that he was going somewhere in the first round. So, I get why it's done, but that was the only other point I was going to make, is it still stinks that there are actual humans involved in this situation.
I worked for a guy that beat me up on negotiations, and told me all my faults and this and that. And I was like, well, why do you want me? And I eventually bought the company from him, and when I did, I let him have it on all the things that they had done wrong and everything. And there was some raised voices, and then when it was all said and done, he goes, "Man, I really like the way you operate, the way you do business." I said, "I learned it from you."
Yep. No, and
it's sad. I hated that. I hated it.
Well, and not to go completely off subject, but this was my, beef isn't the right word, but the whole Lamar Jackson situation, which, hosting Fox Sports Radio, I love college football, I love college basketball, but we obviously talk a ton of NFL as well. And that's what I was saying during the Lamar Jackson situation was, listen, I respect that you don't want to have an agent, that you don't want to give over that commission to somebody else. But you also can't be offended when in a negotiation, the Baltimore Ravens are trying to tell you all you did wrong because they're trying to save some money to put into other places in the organization. So, like I said, it's the sad's not the right word. It's just part of the deal.
It's part of the deal.
And it's that, part of the deal in the draft process, part of the deal in free agency, all that stuff. I mean, free agency, whether you're a media member or whether you're an athlete, that's the case.
It's
but like
business.
you said, Clay, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
It's just business. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Aaron.
And, I will say, too, we're learning this. I think these younger athletes are learning it more and more, is that, it's cool to say, hey, this is just a business on social media and Instagram and Twitter, or, this is a business decision. But we're seeing it more and more now, kind of whether it's in the draft ranks, whether it's in how, say, a Deion Sanders is operating his football program out there in Colorado. It really is a business, and the sooner that these young athletes learn that, the better. So I didn't mean to cut you guys off.
No, you're cool, Aaron. So I saw this when they were talking about Jokic and what he's doing in Denver, but he was a second-round pick, and they allowed him to stay over in Serbia for another year. Do you see any way the NBA and college work together where a guy like a Jordan Walsh, let's say a team wants to take him in the second and hold their rights to him, but they want him to stay at Arkansas and play and develop there where you're going to be starting and getting meaningful minutes? Could you see anything like that happen in the future?
Matt, it's a great question. They should, but I don't think that's going to happen. And it's interesting, and it's for reasons that I don't really understand, but it feels as though the NBA has an adversarial relationship with college basketball, where the NFL, I think the NFL clearly understands, hey, college football's great for us. Everybody knows who Joe Burrow is, an icon before he's ever played an NFL game. Trevor Lawrence, whoever, Bryce Young, whatever. With college basketball, it's the exact opposite. Is that I'll tell you guys, just talking to people, there was never any traction from coaches, GMs, front office people about removing the one-and-done rule. And I bring it up because the person that was really pushing for it was Adam Silver, the commissioner. And his owner said, we don't want to pay 18-year-olds that haven't proven themselves. The players' union said, we don't want veterans losing their jobs to unproven 18-year-olds. But it was Adam Silver that was the one that was pushing for it behind the scenes. And basically, his argument, which I think is dumb, was, it's unfair, and, they deserve to be able to make a living, and blah, 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 and this and that. And so I just bring it up, Matt, because, if it is about the development of young people and development of the person and development of the basketball player, too, I think it's a great situation. Oh, by the way, you can still have the G League for a kid that just says, I don't want to be in school anymore, and that's okay. And, oh, by the way, if you're good enough to play in the NBA, then you don't go back to college. But I think it would be great for not only college basketball, but the NBA, where you look at, say, a Jordan Walsh, where, he could, instead of starting in the G League and hoping to earn a spot next year, he could come back to Arkansas, and then you have his draft rights, and then he's he's more polished and ready to go a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever.
And speaking of getting, I'm with you. I'm with you, Aaron. And some of the NIL deal, and you're able to get them at a discounted rate because you're taking them in the second round to get their draft rights. You're not having to take them first round, number 9 overall, like I think he would be next year or in 2 years if he kept on coming back. So it could work out both ways.
I agree 100%, and I think it's something they should consider. I definitely think it's something the NFL should consider as well. I don't know if the NFL would ever consider it, but I just think from the basketball perspective, I mean, especially an elite player, like you said, Matt, too, it's not as though they're not making money right now at the college level. I wish the NBA would consider it. I don't think that they would.
BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right down to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.